Welcome to Eliminating Caregiver Chaos, the podcast where we stop pretending caregiving is just about tasks and start dealing with the real weight that you're carrying, the emotional one. I'm DJ Castilleja, and I help family caregivers stop drowning in guilt, resentment, and burnout by teaching them how to actually process their emotions instead of just pushing them down and hoping for the best. Now, before we dive in, I want you to know this podcast is designed specifically for you, the caregiver on the go. Whether you're driving to yet another doctor's appointment, folding laundry, prepping meals, or stealing a few minutes in your car before you walk back into the chaos, I've got you. You don't need to sit down with a notebook or be in the perfect headspace. Just listen. Let this sink in while you're doing what you need to do. Last episode, we introduced the 10-minute emotional release practice. And I promised you I would explain why movement after emotional release is such a critical part of the process. Today, I'm keeping that promise, and I think this episode is going to completely change the way you think about your body, your emotions, and why self-care actually matters. Let's dive in. Hey family, before we dive into today's episode, I want to share something I have been working on behind the scenes that I'm really excited about. I love being able to talk about what's going on behind the scenes with Eliminating Caregiver Chaos. And so if you are a hospice organization or you know someone in hospice leadership, I want you to pay attention for just a moment. I have spent years working inside hospice as an administrator, as a chaplain, and as a bereavement coordinator. And one thing I've watched happen over and over again was family caregivers falling through the cracks. The patient gets the care, the family gets a pamphlet. That is not enough. And I built something to change it. It's called ECC for Hospice. It is a done-for-you caregiver support program that hospice organizations can offer to the families of their patients. Their social workers enroll caregivers directly into the ECC platform. The same coaching, the same content, the same community you already know from this podcast, delivered as a benefit to every family that hospice serves. No hiring, no training, no overhead, just a complete caregiver support system that helps hospices stand out in their market and actually take care of the whole family, not just a patient. If you are in hospice leadership or you know someone who is, I would love to have a conversation. Reach out to me directly at djcast@eliminatingcaregiverchaos.com or head to eliminatingcaregiverchaos.com. And if you are a family caregiver listening now, this is for you. Share this episode with the hospice caring for your loved one. You deserve this kind of support, and now there is a way to get it through them. Okay, let's get to the episode. Okay, I want to start today with something that might actually surprise you. Your emotions are not just mental experiences. They are not just thoughts or feelings that exist somewhere in your mind. They are biological events, chemical events happening throughout your entire body. Every single emotion you feel creates a real, measurable chemical reaction that changes how your body functions in that moment. This is not abstract. This is not motivational language. This is actual science. And once you understand it, everything we have been talking about in this course is going to click into place in a completely new way. Here's what happens in your body when you feel something. When you feel stress or fear, and as a caregiver, you're going to feel this a lot, as you already know, your body releases adrenaline, cortisol, and epinephrine, plus many other hormones in our body that I can't even name. These are your stress hormones, and they do something very specific. They prepare your body to fight, flee, or freeze. Your heart rate goes up, your muscles tense, your breathing gets faster, and your body is getting ready to respond to a threat. Now, here's the thing about that stress response. It was designed for short-term threats. A predator, a sudden danger, maybe getting into a car accident, something that requires an immediate response from you and then resolves. The chemicals get used up in the action. Maybe you need to run and your body returns to the baseline. But what happens when that threat never goes away? What happens when the stress you are experiencing is not a predator you can run from, but the ongoing, relentless reality of caregiving? The appointments, the grief, the fear, the resentment, day after day after day. The stress hormones keep getting released. And if they have nowhere to go, if they never get used up through physical action, they accumulate in your body. They stay in your tissues. They keep your nervous system stuck in a fight or flight state, even when there is no immediate threat present. Our brains cannot tell the difference between when we're in an actual emergency or whether you're just stressed out from the daily occurrences of life. That is what chronic caregiver stress does to your body. It is not just that you feel stressed, it is that your body is chemically stuck in a stress response that was never allowed to complete. Now, let me tell you about some of the other emotional chemistry happening in your body, because it's not all stress hormones. When you feel love or connection, your body produces oxytocin and dopamine. These are the chemicals that give you warmth, calm, and a sense of closeness. When you feel joy, your body releases dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. When you feel sad, your serotonin levels can drop, your energy decreases, and tears form. And here's something fascinating about tears. Crying is actually your body's way of releasing emotional chemicals. It is a biological release valve. When you cry, you are literally releasing stress chemicals through your tears. That is why you often feel lighter after a good cry. It's not just emotional, it's chemical. When you feel anger, norepinephrine and adrenaline surge through your body. Your blood pressure rises, your body heats up, you may feel your face flush or your jaws clench. That is chemistry. When you feel guilt or shame, cortisol quietly spikes. Your shoulders hunch, your stomach tightens. That tension that lingers long after the moment has passed. That is chemistry sitting in your body unresolved. Here is the critical point I need you to hear. Every emotion has a physical manifestation, a physical side effect. You feel it in your heart rate, your breathing, your posture, your digestion, your immune function. Your body doesn't just experience emotions, it stores them. And when you live in a constant state of caregiver stress, when those emotions never get processed and released, those stored reactions accumulate. They pile up, they fill the cup, and they start to overflow as all the burnout symptoms we've named a few episodes back. This is why so many caregivers feel physically exhausted even on days when they, quote unquote, haven't done much. Your body has been doing something all along, managing emotional chemistry that has never had an opportunity to release. The fatigue is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is your body carrying the chemical weight of months or years of unprocessed emotion. So now, here's where the movement piece comes in and why it matters so much. When you move your body after emotional release, after you have named and felt an emotion in your 10-minute practice, you are giving those stress chemicals somewhere to go. You are completing the biological cycle that the emotion started. Think about it this way. When your body releases adrenaline and cortisol in response to stress, those chemicals were designed to fuel physical action. Fight or flee, run, move. That is their purpose. But if you just sit with the stress, if you feel it but do not move afterward, those chemicals stay in your body without completing their cycle. They linger, they accumulate, they keep your nervous system on high alert. But when you move, even just a walk around the block, 10 jumping jacks, stretching, dancing in your kitchen for 2 minutes, you give those chemicals what they were designed for. Your body gets the signal. The stress response is complete. You can stand down now, and your nervous system can begin to settle. This is why after a walk or a good stretch, you often feel lighter, not just emotionally, but physically, because your body has literally processed and begun to clear the chemical residue of the emotions you are carrying. Let me break down some specific types of movement and what they do for you in your emotional chemistry. Walking regulates your breathing and lowers cortisol. The rhythm of walking is grounding. It brings you back into your body and out of emotional spiral. If you can walk outside, even better. Natural light and fresh air support your nervous system in ways that are well documented in research. Dancing frees the body from stiffness and allows emotion to move through you joyfully. There is something about music and movement together that short circuits the stress response in a uniquely powerful way. You do not have to be a good dancer. You just have to move. Yoga and stretching help release tension that has been stored in your muscles because remember, emotions live in the body. The tightness in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the tension in your jaw, those are emotions that have taken up physical residence. Stretching combined with deep breathing tells your nervous system it is safe to release them. Strength training and cardio burn off excess adrenaline and release endorphins. Those feel-good chemicals that elevate your mood and create a sense of calm, confidence after the workout ends. And here's something I want you to hear clearly. Crying, laughter, and deep sighing are also forms of physical and chemical release. They regulate your body's chemistry just as much as exercise does. When you cry after your 10-minute practice, that is not weakness. That is your body doing exactly what it was designed to do. That is the emotional cycle completing itself. That is chemistry being released. Let it happen. Now, I want to come back to why this changes the whole conversation about self-care. Remember in session 10, we talked about how surface-level self-care advice, the bubble baths, the walks, the gym, doesn't fix burnout because it treats the symptoms without reaching the emotional root. And that is still true. Movement alone, without the emotional processing piece, only goes so far. It helps, but it does not empty the cup on its own. But here is the other side of that truth. Emotional processing without movement is also incomplete. When you feel an emotion in your 10-minute practice, when you name it and let it exist, your body has released chemicals in response to that feeling, and those chemicals need somewhere to go. If you just sit still after the practice, if you skip the movement step, those chemicals linger. The emotional cycle does not fully complete, and the relief you feel is smaller and shorter than it could be. This is why the 10-minute emotional release practice has 4 steps, not 3. The feeling and the movement are both essential. Together, they form a complete cycle. Apart, each one is only doing part of the job. Emotional processing releases the feeling. Movement completes the chemistry. Together, they empty the cup. So here's your action step coming out of today's session. You already know the 10-minute practice. Now I want you to be intentional about the movement step. This week, after each 10-minute session, choose a specific movement and notice how your body feels before and after. Pay attention to what shifts, because now that you understand what is actually happening chemically, you will start to feel the difference in a completely new way. The body is not separate from healing. The body is part of the healing. And when you learn to work with your body instead of pushing through it, that is when the real shift begins. And by the way, you ever seen puppies or dogs or cats just shake? And I don't mean after they've gotten wet, but when dogs get nervous or anxious, they shake. And it's to get this stress and the stress chemicals out of their little bodies. That's also a reason why dogs will shake their tail. It's movement to help process the chemicals going through the body. That's just a little side note that I thought would be interesting if you have an animal. Today's episode was a big one, and I hope it landed in a way that makes the whole picture feel clearer. Because understanding why your body responds the way it does to stress and emotion is one of the most empowering things a caregiver can know. You are not falling apart. You are not broken. Your body is doing exactly what bodies do when they carry too much for too long without release. And now you have the tools to start changing that. If you want to go deeper with this work, if you want structured, supported guidance as you build these principles into your daily life, I want you to visit us at eliminatingcaregiverchaos.com. The link is in the show notes. Everything we cover in this podcast, we go much deeper on inside our membership, and I would love to have you there. If today's episode helped you, please hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another caregiver who needs to hear this. The more caregivers who understand what is actually happening in their bodies, the more caregivers who can finally start to heal. Until then, the chaos doesn't have to be permanent. We're eliminating it together. Take care of yourself out there, and we'll talk to you next time.